What's going on, guys? So in this video, I'm going to talk about why I hate collection baskets at Mass. All right. Now, before the hate comments come, I don't hate, obviously, the idea of donating to the Catholic Church. I don't even hate the idea of donating at Mass. I just hate the way in which we do it, like the marketing tactic, I guess we'd call it. So I want to explain why, because I feel like I've talked to other Catholics about this, and they kind of feel similar gripes, but they don't know how to articulate it. And I kind of do, because marketing is my whole life. That's all I do. I basically do, social media marketing for my business, which is helping Catholic men get fit. And then I also help Catholic churches with social media marketing. And so Catholic and marketing is like my whole life. So that's what I do. So let's break it down. Why do I hate? It's such like a bad clip to be posted. Why do I hate the collection baskets being in front of my face at Mass? So let's start with what that is. So when when the homily ends and we're preparing for the next part of Mass, the ushers will come up and they'll hand the collection baskets in front of us, in front of our faces, really. And what that's called in marketing world is an ask, right? You're asking for money. It's like an advertisement. And nonprofits do this. A church is a nonprofit, so it's a little different from regular business, actual marketing, but it's not that different. It's a 501c3. For example, another Catholic 501c3 is like Word on Fire. Word on Fire asks very differently than putting a collection basket in front of you. I'll give you an example. Word on Fire is a really successful ad running right now where, you've probably seen it, where it says free Word on Fire Bible. And it's the picture of the black leather-bound Bible. And if you click on the ad, it brings you to a landing page where you can scroll through and it tells you all about how great the Bible is, this new Bible that they have, which is good. I think I have it somewhere. It's really good. But at the end of it, it says, if you want this free Bible, all you got to do is sign up for a year with Word on Fire and we'll send you the Bible, right? So they're asking you for money, but they're doing it in a smooth way. You get this free item. They're talking about the free item. All you got to do is sign up for this thing. Word on Fire has been running that ad for at least 8 months. And I track the Word on Fire ads, the Ascension ads, because I want to see what's working in our niche. And that one's working, I'll tell you that. So it just goes to show, we are asking, the parish is asking, but I think they're asking in a rudimentary way. Because why is it a problem? Well, you're basically going up to them with, for example, the Word on Fire ad gave you something, right? It's a little bit of, yeah. And yeah, we just got the homily. But it's kind of obvious, give me money, right? That is not the best way to ask people for money. Whether it's a 501c3, a church, an actual business, no, right? Now, why did churches do this? My guess, hopefully, this is all hoping that it's not liturgical abuse to not do this, but I don't think it is. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But why did churches do this? Here's what I think. This is my theory. Pastors, they go to seminary for 8 years, right? So Catholic seminary is 8 years. And they're learning what would be called the technical work of the job, the sacraments and the spiritual guidance and the spiritual directing and the shepherding of the parish. That is not marketing. That's not all the other stuff involved in an organization. And we don't blame them for not knowing this stuff because they did the work they were supposed to. It's kind of let's say a woman goes to cake decorating school and she becomes a pastry chef and she does that for 6 years and then she starts a pastry chef business. Well, let's call her Sarah. We don't expect Sarah to know how to market and sell the cakes and do the operations of the cake business in the back end and all the cutting edge technology. But we would expect Sarah would either learn it when she has time or she would delegate it out to learn. And I think it's that last piece, that's kind of the analogy I draw. The priests don't have time to learn social media marketing or any of better, for example, the ad strategies of Word on Fire. But what if they did learn it? What if your parish priest knew how to ask as well as Bishop Aaron does in Word on Fire? That would be helpful. You would go from a parish being at $500,000 a year in donations to 3 million, 4 million, 5 million a year in donations. I'm dead serious. Yes. All right, so let's bring it back. I'm going to go off on tangents probably, but I want to stick to the core issue. We don't blame the priest for this, but I think priests have a responsibility to learn how to ask better. And I think they're just doing what their pastor did when they were an assistant pastor or an associate pastor. and then they said, this is how we get money. And I get it. A majority of collections come from the collection basket on Sunday. I think it's like, so if we use the $500,000 a year in donations example, if a Catholic parish is doing $500,000 a year in donations, maybe like 80% of that comes from collection baskets. So 400,000, so a week, maybe like 20K a week. Hopefully my math is right. It might not be. But like, 10, 20, 30,000 a week in collections is like pretty standard for a church. So I get it. I get why we do the collection baskets. But it's not the best way. You know how I know this? Is because how do you feel when a second collection basket comes around? You ever had that where you finish Mass and then the Mass is about to end and then they got a second collection basket coming around and you're like, what? What's going on here? Or they'll do it like right after sometimes. So they'll like come by with the collection basket and then the ushers just like loop around and run it back. How does that feel? Let me ask you a question. If that was the best way to get more money, that begs the question, why not do 3 collection baskets or 4? Let's do one for the winter maintenance fund. Let's do one for just the young adult community. We'll do one for the Franciscans too, and we'll just get more and more and more money, right? No, that's not what happens. What happens in the second collection basket? It's like a fraction of the first. We have to explain why this is. You guys know what I'm getting at. The concept is like you can't keep asking. The amount of money you get goes down. Why is this? It's like a fundamental concept in marketing, which is this. You can ask as much as you want, but the value has to be generally 3 to 4 times the asks. That might be confusing. Here's what I mean. If you go to social media right now, the general rule of thumb in all of marketing is you can give 3 times and ask once. So for every time you give, you can ask if you gave 3 times. So go on social media. If you scroll, you go on Instagram, every 3rd or 4th post will be an ad. So you got free value, free value, free value, ad. You go on Facebook, same thing. YouTube, if you're scrolling on your home feed, usually 1 in every 4 videos is sponsored. But what happens at Mass? So homily could be considered the give, but then they asked, and then they asked again, too much. And what happened? The goodwill goes down. So here's how it works. When you give free things, psychologically, the goodwill meter goes up in a person, right? So they're happy, they like the service, the organization, the person, whatever it is, the goodwill meter goes up. When the goodwill meter is like 3 times the ask, you can ask. And when you ask, the goodwill meter goes back down. Now you can't ask again because the goodwill meter is too low. So you have to give more free things. So they go back up and then you ask again. That is how direct response marketing campaigns work. Right? That's the secret. Otherwise, people would just ask every day. Catholic priests don't know these things. That's okay. They were busy learning homiletics and theology 7. They know a lot of things that aren't about this. But they should delegate it out. That's what I'm here for. But it's one of the reasons I don't like it. Hope this is making sense. There's another big glaring issue with collection baskets, if that's the majority of your collected income, which is this. There's no guaranteed monthly recurring revenue. The idea being you're not guaranteed that much next month. That's why subscriptions are so great. The most successful companies in the world have a subscription model. Like Netflix is what, like $9 a month? Multi-billion-dollar company. Because you forget about it and that stacks and it adds up, right? But a collection basket, I rarely give in collection baskets because I just don't carry cash on me. And even if I did, okay, I gave $5, but what if I didn't have $5 next week? So the best way for a parish to collect donations would be through a monthly recurring system. Okay, that gets us into a new topic. So how do we do that? I'm not saying don't do the collection baskets, but here's the thing, parishes, you don't have to put it in our face and you don't have to do it multiple times. I know a priest who's he's in Rhode Island and he runs a parish, successful parish. Donations have consistently been going up. He doesn't make the ushers put it in front of the aisles and like donate. He puts it at the front of the altar and people can come up and give. That's great. It's a subtle ask. Ask with a lowercase a, right? So let's get back to the point about these recurring donations. How would you do that? Now, a priest might think, or the parish council, or, mind you, parish workers are like, average age is like 100 years old. So that's a whole different problem. But they sometimes have like an e-donate link buried away on the website, and that can kind of set things up. But again, that's not smooth. That's not the way to ask. A 25-year-old who's getting back into the faith is not going to search the website and click the e-donate link. Why? Well, there was no free thing given. You weren't, kind of like moved into it, kind of like the Word on Fire ad that I talked about. But that's what you want to do. Word on Fire, for example, a recurring service. So imagine if there was this is the best thing for a parish to do, is to get very successful on social media, the parish, by giving tons of value, tons of advice, tons of help on spirituality, and then route everyone into an online community where you can continue to give free things. Now you can give free things, free advice, free posts, free resources. And as you know, the more free you do, now you know, the goodwill meter goes up, the more you can ask. And so now you're not asking just once on Sunday in person with cash, you're asking 3 times a week with an online link that has recurring donations. And so they just stack $25 a month, but not just $25 a month for one person, it's for 10,000. And you never have to worry. Think of how much that would help if your monthly recurring went up to an extra $25K a month. It's much better, right? But parishes don't have time to learn this stuff. I think here's the big problem. Priests just spend 8 years, they spend 8 years in seminary, then they get an assistant pastoral role, and they're doing sacraments all the time, so they're too busy to learn. And then they get made pastor earlier and earlier nowadays. And now they got to run a parish, and they don't have time to learn all this cutting edge marketing stuff. So they're just left with doing the same thing that their pastor did, who did the same thing his pastor did. And then he turns to the parish office, and it's a bunch of 80-year-old women named Helga, and they don't know what's going on. And so everyone's just kind of stuck in the past and leaving mounds of money on the table. Now, you might say it's not all about money, Joe. Actually, I think the church should have more money. I want your parishes to have, I think every parish should be doing over $1 million a year. Easy. What, don't you? Where else should money go if not the Holy Mother Church? So this is just my rant. Literally, objectively, the worst way to ask for money would be to put it in front of someone's face and say, give me money. I'm not saying it doesn't work. It clearly works. I'm saying you're getting the least amount of money for it. I want churches to make more money. If that was the best way, I would be doing it. It's not. So I want you to make gobs of money as a Catholic church, but also influence more people. Just think for a second. Just bear with me here. Just assume everything I'm going to say is true. That if you built an Instagram account called St. Mary's Catholic Parish, and then you ran Instagram follower ads, $200 a day for 30 days, you'd get about 10,000 followers in your local area following your Instagram account, if you did the ads correctly. So let's assume you did. And then you had 10,000 people that were in the area that every time you posted on your story, every time you made a post, and you're making good content, they're seeing your parish all the time. They're seeing the parish wins. They're seeing all this value you're giving. Give. You're posting every day giving value. And then one day, on Monday, you say, hey, and you post on your story, you say, hey, anyone able to help us with our winter maintenance fund? And then there's a poll on the story, and you get 50 yes votes. And then your assistant at the parish DMs all 50 of those people, asks them a couple questions, says thank you, sends them what you would call an e-donate link, which is a subscription, $50 a month. Out of those 50, maybe 20 buy, so you got $1,000 a month extra. Not buy, but donate, extra $1,000 a month in monthly recurring revenue. So anyway, that's my spiel. And I hope this is helpful because it's good to talk about these things. I want these to be topics that the church talks about, because when I talk to priests, they want more donations. They want more engagement with the youth. They want to do these things. They just don't know how, and they don't have the time to learn. So that's my rant. I hope this was helpful. I hope it gives you something to think about. If you are a priest at a parish or you work at a parish office, we help with social media marketing. So if that's something you're interested in, just click the link in the video description below and we'll hop on a call. Either way, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. God bless.